This video will contain spoilers from the very beginning, so remember, you've been warned. Well, the season finale is finally here, and one episode sooner than anticipated. It's safe to say that The Idol has been a mess of a TV show with a weak plot that lacked conviction but had bundles of potential. And sadly, as expected, this season finale stuck to the theme of that, with inconsistent timeframes, an ending that made absolutely no sense at all, and the bulk of the episode just making it feel as though we were an A&R person. This finale most definitely fell flat. So with that, let's break down and explain the episode and discuss why it was just awful. It felt like an episode was cut. From the very start of this episode, it all just felt completely off, and like so much time had passed from the previous one. That had always been one of my biggest issues with this show. It felt like a lot of development actually happened off the screen in between episodes, and with this one it was no different, but it was even more drastic. I think this is because there was an episode that was most probably cut from the show. Originally, The Idol was billed as 6 episodes, and we were all led to believe that it was going to be like that, right up until last week. So it very much felt like the creators of the show just tried to edit 2 pieces together, or canned off episode 5 entirely. The dynamic between Tedros and Joss was also so weird. Joss was now the authoritative figure, and she was basically kicking him out of the house and saying that he was nothing and that she didn't need him. A behavior that we'd never seen her exhibit. My main concern with that was why? We obviously heard that she found out about his past and that he had this master plan to get his artists in front of her. But when was this revelation delved into more and the start of the change in mindset for Joss? As that would have most probably been quite good to see getting developed. And also, it's extremely important to the plot and development of the characters. But no, that was just left out. Another way in which it felt like the story didn't quite add up was the fact that it looked like we were set to see some kind of division being formed in the management. Hyam and Dee splitting away from Nikki, and Nikki was choosing to work with Tedros. But that amounted to absolutely nothing. It feels like if there was an episode that was there before, it would have most likely touched on them both breaking away slightly. So it all just felt a little off with that, and it proved to be a pointless inclusion in the episode. There was also the story with Diane, all of this hype around Jenny being in the show, and also the fact that she was going to be the person who destroyed Joss's career by taking the limelight. But then she ended up having her career ruined by Joss due to the fact that Joss found herself again and started creating good music. It was just utterly pointless and didn't serve any purpose at all. That final line, "It was Jocelyn, wasn't it?" with the elevator door closing must be one of the least dramatic and non-impactful lines said in a show where doors close for dramatic effect. The 6 weeks later was a big cop-out in my opinion too. We spent 4.5 episodes watching Joss go through the creative process of wanting to write new music. But then, when she had a new song, we're expected to believe that there was no more drama worthy of being within the time frame. Joss was basically the new head of a cult, Leia had left, Rob was being accused of allegations, and Tedros, well, he had his downfall. There was so much to continue developing, but it was just left out and brushed to the side, which is something that I think just showed that the creators just almost wanted it to end, and there wasn't an in-depth enough thought about what could come after. The choppy nature and brushing over things is something that most definitely contributed to this season finale being uncomfortable to watch, and also quite jarring at times. The ending. This ending of Joss turning into a villain was something that I found extremely underwhelming. Her lying about being abused by her mother when Tedros saw the hairbrush and said how it was a new brush was extremely confusing. Or if it wasn't that and it was just there as a reminder of what happened to her and what she'd been through, it would have just been even more confusing. He used the brush on her a couple of episodes ago, so why did he not see it then? Joss essentially became the villain of the show in the end. She was the cause of Tedros' demise in making him lose everything. She was the leader of the cult and she was also a liar. Plus, she was now also a global megastar smashing records. Tedros became the very person that Joss was during the beginning of the series, needing somebody to be there for them and to give them guidance. It was kind of full circle. I just found it to be lacking in luster, and if anything, I just didn't really feel as though it made that much sense. It kind of went against what I felt the show stood for, Joss trying to navigate the industry and be her authentic self, despite struggling on the pathway. The management should have been the villains, as they were laughing at somebody's destruction and getting thrills out of watching somebody's life be destroyed, not Joss. It left a sour taste in my mouth, as realistically, you left the show having liked none of the characters by the end of it. Joss unlocked the potential inside of her and became a horrible person in order to garner the success that she wanted. The Little Red Riding Hood analogy was something that I also thought was utterly ridiculous too. Hyam was the hunter, Tedros was the wolf, and Joss was Little Red Riding Hood. But then, during the ending, they gave her a red hood and she didn't exhibit any behaviours of Little Red Riding Hood, so it just felt like a pointless comparison. We spent most of the episode at the showcase. One of my biggest issues with this episode is that for a season finale, not a lot happened. It genuinely felt like we spent most of the time just sitting down watching all of the artists perform, which didn't bring much to the story at all. We just saw how impressed everybody was, and it got boring very quickly. We could have seen Chloe and maybe a bit of Izaak, but then we saw another and then another, and it just got a bit too repetitive. I think this episode should have focused more on Joss and Tedros and the issues that they had at hand. I thought Tedros was going to go all villain-like, as I feel he was made out to be that type of character, but no, it was just so underwhelming. From around the 15-minute mark to the 40-minute mark, it was pure performances, which just wasn't needed. Was there anything good? Well, I would actually say that this was the Weeknd's strongest performance in the show. So that is actually a positive, as for the most part, he had been a huge weak link, but I feel the actual plot and story was weaker than his acting ability this week. Plus, there was barely any graphic scenes, and you do notice when there isn't because it's not something that clouds your mind after finishing the episode. It's ridiculous when you think back to how much there was in the earlier parts of the show. That was it. I genuinely don't think that there was anything that great in the episode, and I just feel it fell flat. I don't even think it was the best that we've seen Lily Rose Depp in this season. The Idol is a show that I don't think will be remembered well, if remembered at all, and I think as time goes on it will be forgotten. It's not like Velma where it's existing work that's been recreated. This is a show that I think will fade into obscurity as time goes on. It's only 5 episodes as well, which is something that probably goes in its favour. I myself, I'll probably remember this show as one that had bundles of potential that was lying within it, but it never lived up to or was ever going to be heading in the direction that I felt as though it should have gone. Instead, for the most part, it was just the Weeknd and Lily Rose Depp's characters being intimate with one another. Genuinely, I bet if there was a supercut of all of those scenes, you could probably get a whole episode out of it. One thing as well that I found a bit cringy was the fact that right at the end over the credits they put shots of the creation of the show, which was people and cast members full of laughter, which to me just feels like it's a way of glossing over the cracks of the rumours of it being a toxic set, so I found that a bit strange. For now, the show has been put to bed and we don't have to see any more of it, so back to the good shows. So, there you have it, why The Idol episode 5 has the worst season finale of a show. If you want to see more videos such as endings explained, theories and predictions and character breakdowns, then click on the I button, or alternatively you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you'd like to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @BrainPilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What did you think of the season finale? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.